Twitter says it's intentionally blocking apps like Tweetbot. Okay, this is something I wanted to talk about. I think you may have seen I put this story in, I think it was yesterday. But I've actually been hearing about this since before that. There have been people on Twitter complaining about their third-party apps no longer working as far as accessing Twitter. And at first, in the absence of some type of announcement, people were having to speculate on their own as to what the heck was going on. Is this over now?
Bug?
Well, they were just,
issue.
they were thinking maybe there was some sort of update push that caused their particular client to stop working. And many people have one client that they use, so they're like, maybe it's a problem with the client. I personally still use TweetDeck from time to time. You have others like Tweetbot, and there's just a handful of third-party apps, which for one reason or another might be more convenient for people managing multiple social media accounts. Twitter says some apps aren't working because the platform is enforcing its long-standing third-party API rules. It still hasn't explained what rules apps are breaking. So they obviously looked at everything and said, hey, our API has these rules in it, and now we're just enforcing it, which is having this effect. I have seen some of the software companies that develop these third-party apps saying, hey, sayonara, see you later, RIP.
Wow, just giving up.
Well, I think they may have some insight that we don't officially. They may have correspondence even with Twitter suggesting that, hey, this isn't going to change, and we want people on the real site. Twitter's vagueness, scroll up just a little bit, isn't much of a surprise given that the company dismantled its communications team as part of CEO Elon Musk's mass layoffs. One senior Twitter engineer reportedly told employees that third-party outages are intentional, but never explained why, according to internal messages obtained by The Information. Situation has left both developers who make a living off of these apps and users who use them to enhance their Twitter experience frustrated and confused, while one app, Tweetbot, briefly came back online over the weekend. That was only because co-creator Paul Haddad swapped out its API keys. This put the app in a semi-working state and allowed it to temporarily bypass the ban. And then he goes on Twitter, the co-creator of the company, and says, I want to publicly apologize to Twitter for breaking its long-standing API rule of, and then it's a bit of a troll because he puts just a line saying, I don't know where this rule is. Can you please show me this rule? However, I think it's been sort of a sketchy relationship with the third-party apps for a long time, and many social media companies and platforms don't have a healthy relationship with third-party apps because third-party apps tend to, alter the experience and can be bad for business in some cases where you're not seeing enough ads or interacting with features and experiments that the company themselves wants you to be using. However, I have to say I have found third-party Twitter apps to be extremely useful and to make me more of a Twitter user. So it goes to show you that, to each their own. I don't know if there's a way to coexist here or to find a healthy, happy medium. But it is unfortunate anytime you have confusion and too much unknown because these people, developers and so forth, a little bit of notice here or a little bit of leeway here, a little bit of information.
It's pretty unfair. But in this case, a lot of people seems to be using these third-party apps. What's Twitter's next step? You think that they should buy these apps or develop their own features?
Well, Twitter just goes in there and turns off.
Because they have money, apparently.
They just turn off the pipeline, man. They just go, it's an API, screw off, right? They don't have to allow it. I know at one point in time, Twitter themselves was working with TweetDeck. I think they may have even acquired TweetDeck and said, this is just like the pro version. So, but my thing is, if you're going to alienate all these people, you're going to piss off all these people, you're likely not going to go back and say, let's partner. Chances are you're working on your own version of it. And you're just saying, screw off. It's been in the API since day one. We're enforcing it now. And we'll show you the line at a later date or whatever it happens to be. And there's going to be people pissed off, including users, not just developers, but users who rely on these tools or are used to these tools and so on.